Cyber Threat Brief for March 11, 2026. Microsoft's March Patch Tuesday addresses 79 vulnerabilities with no actively exploited 0 days for the first time in 6 months. But CISA flags an Ivanti EPM flaw as exploited in the wild with a March 23 federal deadline. A Russian-speaking threat actor is hitting HR departments with Black Santa EDR killer malware, while a critical Java authentication bypass in Pack4J threatens hundreds of downstream packages. HPE patches a critical authentication bypass in AOSCX switches, allowing admin password resets. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Cyber Threat Brief March 11, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. Ivanti EPM Authentication Bypass, CVE 2026-1603. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, added a high-severity Ivanti Endpoint Manager vulnerability to the KEV Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, CVE 2026-1603, CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 8.1, EPS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, 67.7%/99th percentile, allows remote attackers to bypass authentication and steal credentials via cross-site scripting attacks requiring no user interaction. The flaw was patched in Ivanti EPM 2024 SU5 1 month ago, but CISA now confirms active exploitation in the wild. Action: federal agencies must patch by March 23 per BOD 22.1. All EPM installations should apply EPM 2024 SU5 immediately. Over 700 internet-facing EPM instances tracked by Shadowserver, most in North America. Ivanti has a history of exploitation, CVE 2024-13159, all previously exploited, and 3 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Sources: Bleeping Computer. Critical Java Authentication Bypass, CVE 2026-29000, maximum severity flaw in Pack4J, an open-source Java security engine integrated into hundreds of packages. Attackers can bypass authentication by forging JWTs or deploying raw JSON claims via JWE using only the server's public RSA key. Affects Spring Security, Play Framework, Vert, X, Javelin, and others. Proof of concept exploit published by CodeAnt AI. Action: update Pack4J JWT to patched versions immediately. Many orgs may not realize they depend on Pack4J JWT as it's not always declared in build files. Review dependencies and contact vendors if using affected frameworks. Pre-authentication exploitation, no secrets required. Sources: Cyberscoop. HPE Aruba AOSCX Authentication Bypass, CVE 2026-23813, Critical Authentication Bypass in HPE Aruba Networking AOSCX switches allows unauthenticated remote attackers to reset admin passwords. Affects web-based management interface of AOSCX switches. Action: apply AOSCX security updates immediately. If patching is delayed, restrict management interface access to dedicated Layer 2 segment/VLAN, implement Layer 3 access policies, disable HTTPS on SVIS/routed ports, and force control plane ACLs, enable logging/monitoring. No public exploit code yet. Sources: Bleeping Computer. Next section, Ransomware Claims, last 48h. 3 claims tracked across 2 groups in the last 48 hours. These are unverified claims from ransomware leak sites. Group Victim Sector Country LeakNet CIS Security/Compliance Unknown Iralian, Apt73 Banak. Com Retail Furniture, Spain Iralian, Apt73 Bankasia BD. Com Banking Bangladesh. Next section, Business and Infrastructure Threats. Black Santa EDR killer targeting HR departments, Russian-speaking threat actor running year-long campaign targeting HR departments with malware delivering Black Santa EDR killer. Attack begins with fake resumes hosted on cloud storage, Dropbox, as ISO disk images. ISO contains shortcut disguised as PDF that launches PowerShell script extracting malware hidden via steganography in image files. Black Santa uses Bring Your Own Vulnerable Driver, BYOD, technique with Rogue Killer Anti-Rootkit Driver and iObit Unlocker. SIS to gain kernel-level access and terminate AV/EDR processes, disable Microsoft Defender, suppress Windows notifications, and mute logs. After disabling defenses, malware hunts for sensitive files and cryptocurrency artifacts for exfiltration. Action: treat HR workflows with same defensive rigor as finance and IT functions. Train HR staff on malicious ISO files and cloud storage risks. Block or restrict ISO mounting on HR workstations. Monitor for Rogue Killer, TrueSight, SIS and iObit Unlocker. SIS driver loads. Implement application whitelisting and kernel driver signing enforcement. Sources: The Register Bleeping Computer Security Week. Zombie ZIP evasion technique. New Zombie ZIP technique bypasses 50 of 51 AV engines on VirusTotal by manipulating ZIP headers to trick parsing engines into treating compressed data as uncompressed. Security tools trust the method equals 0, stored, header field and scan data as raw uncompressed bytes. But data is actually deflate compressed, so scanners see compressed noise and miss signatures. Standard extraction tools, 7-zip, WinRAR, Unzip, generate errors when trying to extract due to CRC mismatch. But purpose-built loaders can ignore headers and decompress payloads successfully. CERT/CC published CVE 2026-0866 Bulletin, noting similarity to CVE 2004-0935 from 20-plus years ago. Action: security vendors should validate compression method fields against actual data and implement aggressive archive inspection. Users should treat archive files with caution, especially from unknown sources. Delete archives immediately if decompression attempts fail with unsupported method errors. Sources: Bleeping Computer. Iranian Moaz using cybercrime infrastructure, Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and Security. Moaz linked groups Muddy Water and Void Manticore increasingly using cybercrime malware and ransomware infrastructure. Void Manticore using commercial Radamanthes in Fostealer, disrupted but not killed by NOV 2025 law enforcement action, paired with custom wipers in phishing campaigns targeting Israel, frequently impersonating F5 updates and Israeli inked. Muddy Water used Dindor Backdoor, new variant of Tsundir botnet, in intrusions into U.S. critical networks following U.S./Israeli airstrikes. FakeSet Downloader delivers Castle Loader malware as a service, using code signing certificates under common names Amy Churn and Donald Gay, also seen in Dindor campaign. Use of criminal software creates attribution confusion. Action: monitor for Radamanthes, Dindor, FakeSet, and Castle Loader indicators. Review phishing targeting Israeli organizations and U.S. critical infrastructure. Validate F5 software updates through official channels only. Track code signing certificate abuse. Sources: The Register. Next section: Windows/Active Directory security. Microsoft Azure AD SSH Login Extension Elevation of Privilege, CVE 2026-26148. External initialization of trusted variables in Azure Entra ID allows unauthorized attackers to elevate privileges locally. Action: apply March Patch Tuesday updates to Azure AD SSH Login Extension for Linux. Sources: MSRC. Windows Kerberos Race Condition, CVE 2026-24297. Concurrent execution using shared resource with improper synchronization in Windows Kerberos allows unauthorized attackers to bypass security features over a network. Action: apply March Patch Tuesday updates. Monitor for unusual Kerberos authentication patterns. Sources: MSRC. Microsoft SharePoint Server Spoofing, CVE 2026-26105. Cross-site scripting in Microsoft Office SharePoint allows unauthorized attackers to perform spoofing over a network. Action: apply March Patch Tuesday updates to SharePoint server installations. Sources: MSRC. Windows Print Spooler Remote Code Execution, CVE 2026-23669. Use after free in Windows Print Spooler components allows authorized attackers to execute code over a network. Action: apply March Patch Tuesday updates. Continue restricting Print Spooler service where not needed. Sources: MSRC. Windows RAS RCE, CVE 2026-25172, integer overflow in Windows routing and remote access service allows unauthorized attackers to execute code over a network. Action: apply March Patch Tuesday updates. Disable RAS if not required. Sources: MSRC. Next section, Patch Priority. Microsoft Office, CVE 2026-26110 and CVE 2026-26113, CVSS 8.4, RCE via Preview pane. Simple Document Preview triggers code execution. Microsoft Excel, CVE 2026-26144, CVSS 7.5, Copilot Agent Weaponization for Zero-Click Data Exfiltration. Restrict outbound traffic from Office apps until patched. Ivanti EPM, CVE 2026-1603 Authentication Bypass, actively exploited, CISA KEV deadline March 23. HPE Aruba AUS CX, CVE 2026-23813 Critical Authentication Bypass, allowing admin password reset. Pack4J Java Library, CVE 2026-29000 Maximum Severity Authentication Bypass, affecting hundreds of downstream packages. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. Microsoft March 2026 Patch Tuesday. Microsoft released patches for 79 vulnerabilities, 8384 total, depending on count methodology, with no actively exploited 0 days, marking the first update without active exploitation in 6 months. 8 critical severity bugs, 46 elevation of privilege, 18 remote code execution, 10 information disclosure, 4 denial of service, 4 spoofing, and 2 security feature bypass flaws, 2 publicly disclosed 0 days, neither exploited. CVE 2026-21262, SQL Server Elevation of Privilege, CVSS 8.8, Improper Access Control allowing SQL admin privileges, and CVE 2026-26127. NET Denial of Service, CVSS 7.5, Out of Bounds Read. 6 vulnerabilities rated more likely to be exploited. CVE 2026-23668, WinLogin Privilege Escalation Leveraging Improper Link Resolution, CVSS 7.8, and 5 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Critical Microsoft Office RCE bugs, CVE 2026-26110, type confusion, and untrusted pointer dereference, both exploitable via Preview pane. Critical Microsoft Excel Information Disclosure allows attackers to weaponize Copilot Agent for zero-click data exfiltration via unintended network egress, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Critical Azure MCP Server SSRF, CVE 2026-26118, CVSS 8.8, allows authorized attackers to elevate privileges by sending specially crafted input, causing MCP server to send outbound requests with managed identity tokens, enabling token capture and resource access. 3 critical bugs in Microsoft ACI confidential containers, CVE 2026-23651, and 2 in cloud services, in devices pricing program, in payment orchestrator, already mitigated by Microsoft, no customer action required, and 4 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Multiple SQL Server Elevation of Privilege Vulnerabilities, CVE 2026-26115, improper input validation, SQL injection, improper access control, all CVSS 8.8, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Windows SMB, small and medium business, server elevation of privilege CVE 2026-26128 caused by improper authentication. SharePoint Server RCE, improper input validation, and deserialization of untrusted data, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: deploy March Patch Tuesday updates. Prioritize Office, Excel, SQL Server, and SharePoint. Monitor for exploitation of preview pane vulnerabilities. No immediate action required for cloud service CVEs already mitigated. Windows 10 kilobytes 5,078,885 and Windows 11 kilobytes 5,079,473/KB 5,078,883 now available. Sources: Cyberscoop Bleeping Computer, The Hacker News, Talos The Register Sans ISC CrowdStrike. Lantronix EDS 3000 PS and EDS 5000 command injection vulnerabilities, CISA published I.C.S. Industrial Control Systems, advisory for multiple command injection vulnerabilities in Lantronix EDS 3000 PS and EDS 5000 serial over IP devices. Successful exploitation allows authenticated attackers to execute OS commands with root privileges. CVE 2025-67034, name parameter in SSL credential deletion. SSH client/server pages affecting server keys, users, known hosts, log info page file name parameter, tunnel parameter when killing tunnel connections, and 7 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: upgrade EDS 5000 to version 2.2.0. 0R1. Upgrade EDS 3000 PS to patched version. Restrict management interface access. Affects communications, information technology, and critical manufacturing sectors worldwide. Sources: CISA IX. Honeywell IQ4X BMS controller missing authentication. CVE 2026-3611. Honeywell IQ4X building management controllers expose full web HMI without authentication in factory default configuration. With no user module configured, security is disabled by design, and system operates under system guest. Level 100. Context granting read/write privileges to any HTTP accessible party. Remote users can create new accounts with admin permissions via HTM page, enabling user module and imposing authentication under attacker-controlled credentials, effectively locking out legitimate operators. Action: Honeywell has not released a fix. Immediately configure authentication on all IQ4X controllers. Restrict management interface access to trusted networks only. Affects firmware versions 3, 53, 44 through 4. 36 before build 4.3.7.9 for IC4E, IC412, IC422, IC4NC, IC41X, IC3, ICO. Used in commercial facilities, critical manufacturing, government services, healthcare sectors worldwide. Sources: CISA IX. APEMN ID 71 camera vulnerabilities. CISA published ICS advisory for 3 vulnerabilities in APEMN ID 71 cameras. CVE 2025-11126, insufficiently protected credentials affecting /system/www/system. INI, cross-site scripting in /set alias. CGI alias parameter, missing authentication in /onvif/device service onvif service. Exploitation allows attackers to take control of device or view camera feeds. POC exploit code public. Vendor did not respond to CISA coordination and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: APEMN did not respond to CISA. Contact vendor for support. Isolate cameras from internet placed behind VPN. Affects all ID 71 versions. Sources: CISA IX. ICS Patch Tuesday multiple vendors Siemens, Schneider Electric, Mitsubishi Electric, and Moxa published new ICS Patch Tuesday advisories. Action: review vendor advisories for ICS/SCADA environments. Sources: Security Week. Third-party March Patch Tuesday updates. Adobe, security updates for Commerce, Illustrator, Substance 3D Painter, Acrobat Reader, Premiere Pro, no exploited flaws. Cisco, security updates for numerous products. Fortinet, FortiOS, 40 PAM, 40 proxy patches. Google, Android March Bulletin fixed actively exploited zero-day in Qualcomm display component. HPE, multiple vulnerabilities in Aruba networking AOSCX. SAP, March updates including 2 critical vulnerabilities. Sources: Bleeping Computer. Microsoft Semantic Kernel RCE, CVE 2026-26030, RCE vulnerability in Microsoft Semantic Kernel Python SDK in memory vector store filter functionality. GitHub created this CVE, or Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. Updates available in Microsoft Semantic Kernel repository. Sources: MSRC. Windows System Image Manager RCE, CVE 2026-25166, deserialization of untrusted data in Windows System Image Manager allows authorized attackers to execute code locally. Sources: MSRC. Next section: Trends and Context. March Patch Tuesday marks a welcome shift with 0 actively exploited vulnerabilities after 6 consecutive months of zero-day exploitation. However, over half, 55% of all CVEs are privilege escalation bugs, with 6 rated exploitation more likely across Windows components, graphics, accessibility, kernel, SMB, WinLogin. These are typically used post-compromise for lateral movement. The critical Excel Copilot weaponization bug, CVE 2026-26144, signals an emerging attack pattern combining zero-click exploits with AI tool abuse. Meanwhile, Black Santa EDR Killer demonstrates continued evolution of defense evasion tactics using BYOD techniques. And the Zombie ZIP evasion method shows attackers finding creative ways to bypass decades-old security assumptions. Iranian Moaz Group's increasing reliance on cybercrime infrastructure and tools creates attribution challenges that benefit state actors. That concludes today's Cyber Threat Brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.